Facebook post.
We are live, just so you know. Hey, everybody, how's it going? This is this is Monster Talk Live, as is obvious at this point. My name is Matthew Baxter.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Stolzner.
And I'm Blake Smith.
Well, welcome to the show. We're going to be talking about the law of attraction today. And we've just finished an episode based on a true story on the movie The Secret, which is about the law of attraction. But there is just so much more to...
Spoiler alert.
...to this topic. Yeah. So I guess to begin with, Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about the law of attraction and what it is?
Yes, the law of attraction is basically the solution to all of your problems. It's a universal law. There is no way around it. This law exists. It always has existed, and it will continue to exist and work the same for everyone. And what this law does is it like attracts like. Basically, if you are thinking good thoughts and you're thinking about what you want in your life, that's what's going to come into your life. But if you got some bad vibes going on, be prepared for some bad stuff to happen. And this has been written about time and time again. And everybody acts like it's brand new every time they write about it again. But
yeah, I mean, it's known as New Thought, but it's been New Thought for over 100 years. Basically, the theory comes from spiritualism. And so it started with the spiritualist, an American spiritualist, Andrew Jackson Davis. And he was the first to use the term law of attraction. That was back in 1855.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's really been recycled, as we talk about in Based on a True Story. Rhonda Byrne, who wrote The Secret and also produced the movie, the infomercial, that she was really rehashing ideas that have been around for a very long time. In other books like Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and there are a ton of them, Madame Blavatsky's theories, and lots of other ideas that have been around for a really long time. Prentice Mulford's book as well, Thoughts of Things. This idea's been around for a long time.
Yeah. And it really does, get into that whole thought forms idea. And there's been a lot of teachers, I guess you could say.
Gurus and spiritual leaders.
Grifters.
Visionaries and scam artists and snake oil salesmen.
Not naming
pastors.
Any names, though.
Yeah.
Pastors.
Well,
hey,
and that's
ministers.
I would say that I was like, the law of like attracts like. Isn't that actually how Facebook works?
Yes.
Oh.
The more likes you get, the more. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think I've just undebunked it. I don't.
Everybody listening, that works for YouTube as well.
Yeah.
That's right. If you
Like
believe.
attracts like.
Oh, to like and subscribe. That's subscribe attracts subscribe. That's probably really true. So.
But with
The law
Blake
of
mentioning
subscription.
pastors as well, we should also say that a lot of this is grounded in the whole prosperity theory as well, and tithing and giving, and therefore you will receive, and manifesting abundance in terms of wealth and health and success and love and all of these areas, by trying to attract these things through thoughts, but also putting out positive thoughts as well. But
it's amazing. You got these men of the cloth, men of wisdom, mostly men when you get down to it, that seem to be able to break every law except the law of attraction. So it's an interesting kind of melting pot of stuff when you get right down into what the melting pot or what the law of attraction is.
it's interesting that you raise it. It's men of the cloth, and it's usually men, charismatic men like Tony Robbins, James Arthur Ray. There's certainly some women as well. You've got Esther Hicks, and you've got JZ Knight, who channels Ramtha. But why do you think it is that it's predominantly men?
Well, both of those women channel masculine entities,
Good
as
point.
well.
Yes.
So it's, I don't know. I think it's just a relic,
I have
of, oh, go ahead.
Well, it's just, I think maybe it's because telling people that if they're in a bad situation, it's their own fault is a dick move.
Yeah.
It's a entitled male thing.
Yeah, I notice even your shirt says
thing.
Mothman. It doesn't say moth person.
It does not say moth person or moth woman.
woman.
No,
Yeah.
So it's
Moth
you know,
lady.
I'm taking it off. No, I'm not
Sexist.
really.
the patriarchy.
We're not doing
still
OnlyFans
rules.
yet.
It's
Don't
like,
get them
are you-
confused. the
live
platforms.
Manscaped demonstration. So yeah. It's like,
Okay, well, I gotta go.
Well, what I want to know is I came from a background of skepticism, a secular background in Australia, but I know that you guys didn't, that you were believers or you grew up in religious environments. So I'm wondering, did either of you, well, I know Matt's position, but did you dabble in this at any point, the law of attraction? Did you ever, I mean, because when you look at things like, and we will be going into this more, when you look at positive affirmations and visualization, a lot of that is similar to prayer in a sense, really. You're putting these ideas out, things that you want. It's a secular, well, not a secular, but a new age prayer. So I'm wondering, did you ever dabble in this kind of thing?
I never dabbled in it, but the prosperity gospel really, in my world, started popping up a lot in the 1980s.
Right.
I was in a very fundamentalist evangelical church, and there were other larger churches in the community that were leaning into that name it and claim it. It can all be yours if you just ask Jesus, that kind of approach. And our church taught that was actually almost an anti-Christianity, because it was about trying to get the things that are supposed to be your reward in heaven here now.
Right,
and it's a materialist approach. And if you read the Bible, and I know that there's lots of stuff in the Bible, especially in the New Testament, people like to pick and choose what they like. But a lot of what Jesus talks about is helping the poor, helping the needy, giving stuff away, giving all your possessions away. And none of that is involved in the prosperity gospel. It's all about, you don't have to wait to heaven to have your mansion. You can have it now. You don't have to wait. It's the Lord, won't you give me a brand new Cadillac? I mean, there are so many, instances of how this is sort of antithetical. I actually have people in my family who are in, what's the right word? They preach. I'm not sure exactly what else to say about that, but some of them use this kind of approach, and it's never set right with me. I don't ever argue with them about it, but it doesn't sit right with me. I think it's exploitative. So, yeah,
I think you make an interesting point. When you think about a lot of these gurus, I mean, they teach the abandonment of ego, and they teach that we should, non-materialist values, that kind of thing. And yet at the same time, they're charging exorbitant amounts for you to attend their seminars and their workshops and for their books and their DVDs, and making a ton of money from this. So it is
one of the big ploys is give to the church and it will be returned to you tenfold. It will grow. Give it away. Give me tithing and give that money, and it'll grow. It'll get bigger. And you don't need to be a church to have this. I mean, this is true for a lot of the motivational speakers and self-help and business leaders who don't actually have businesses other than taking money from people, telling them they'll get better at business. It should be suspicious. Be suspicious.
Yes, absolutely. We lost you there, Matt.
Oh, I thought he was deep in concentration. But
yeah. I think you've frozen.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
We can see a kind of stillness you.
It's a very thoughtful look. I like it. Yeah,
you look like you're deep in thought.
This is my Bruce Springsteen impression, where I don't really move my lips when I talk. All this is interesting, and I don't know what's going on with my video, but that's fine.
Maybe you
it's
should
cool.
pop out and come back in again.
I would end the stream if I did that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Don't do that.
I am just not going to worry about it that much. But maybe when you guys are talking, I'll look at what I can do.
If we could like slowly pan in on your face, it would be like one of those Burns documentaries. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it looks like he's having a moment of silence or something.
Yeah.
Yes. This episode really makes me sad. Introspective, maybe. No, I have to think about my past a lot, with this episode, and that is a proper expression for me to have. It has been an interesting road, to say the very least. But yeah, I sort of got involved with the law of attraction under many different names, over the years. And
Mm-hmm.
then, when it was finally kind of named in The Secret as the law of attraction, every one of these, speakers in this movie called it the law of attraction. Every
They
single one of
did.
them. But it's funny because if you go and you kind of look at the teachings of these people separately, none of them agree. And
Oh.
I can give some more examples
Hmm.
about that as we go along. But it is an interesting thing. But there is a host of things that is wrong with it. But I kind of want to start off with the whole science aspect of it. They
Mm.
call the law of attraction one of the laws of the universe.
Hmm.
And at the same time, so that's basically like an astrophysics kind of perspective.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And yet they're trying to pull in quantum physics. Now, correct
Sure.
me if I'm wrong. Those two physicses have two sets of laws that really don't go together.
So far, obviously, there's some people looking for a unifying
A
theory,
grand
but
Hmm.
unified theory,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But they're on different scales too. So I
Hmm.
think I've heard it called, what is it? Well, I've heard a few different names for it, but there's quantum physics and there's quantum junk. I don't know, quantum paranormal, quantum wishing, quantum scams.
Quantum Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. I mean, the people use quantum and they like to say quantum and consciousness
Hmm.
and talk about those things because both of those things are to the average
Oh,
layman a little confusing. That was cool.
yeah,
I
Almost
tried.
turned into
yeah.
you,
I tried.
you became like a Nintendo GameCube for a second. It was nifty. That was neat.
Uh, but certainly, we've talked a lot before about New Age spirituality hijacking a lot of terms from science, terms like energy and quantum vibration, and even the word science itself. And we noticed that in watching The Secret. There he is again.
I'm a little happier.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
We noticed that in watching The Secret, that they would often be appealing to science and invoking scientific terms and talking
Yeah.
about studies say or science says or research shows, but without naming that research or without citing that research in any way. And really, you could just preface any outlandish statement with that, and it legitimizes it in the eyes of a lot of people.
It really does, and I think it somehow because it's one of those things that people don't know what it means generally. I mean, obviously, quantum
Mm.
physicists know exactly what it means, and it was very strange to see quantum physicists showing up in The Secret saying stuff that was clearly not true.
Mm.
I found that disturbing. But quantum physics is complicated. It's
Ah, there he
mathematical.
is.
Hey, and then he's
Yeah.
back.
I was
Wow,
here.
you got your head right.
I
You got your head
I
right.
was here the whole time.
So,
Uh,
now I was visualizing you coming back, and yeah, there you are. So
Well,
exactly. Yeah,
you
it
know,
worked.
and Blake, you're really bringing up a great point. There are like this subset of quantum physicists that really go off into this, I guess you could say, theoretical physicists physics, and but
you could
it's
say that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is
They're a little kooky, though.
yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean,
you'll
like
find that with any kind of science. I mean, with anthropology, we'll find people who are kind of fringe and on the periphery who'll believe in Bigfoot, and same thing in linguistics. You'll have people who have some kind of interesting fringe ideas about language.
I
So
think
I
there's
think
a
that's
I, I think there's a vast difference between a theoretical physicist who is contemplating mathematically what goes on inside a black hole and a theoretical physicist who is contemplating that our brains are actually radios and our real consciousness exists outside in another dimension. There's nothing to that.
yeah.
What that tells me is they don't know anything about
fringe.
biology. They think they watch some sci-fi, they read some new age books, and they come up with an idea that uses a lot of the same vocabulary incorrectly. It's really odd because that's not what quantum physics is about. Okay.
Right, and I mean the thing is you've got quantum mechanics, quantum physics, and where you're dealing with one is more dealing with math equations and things like that. And the other one's dealing more with experimentation. What they're saying doesn't fall into either of those two. And the bottom line is just because light will, a collapse from wave into particle when it's observed, doesn't mean anything to us on this level. If we're in the quantum level, sure, that means a lot. But here it doesn't mean anything. And it doesn't mean anything on the astro level either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like gravity doesn't mean a whole lot at the quantum level, but it means everything on the universal level.
Exactly. Neuroscience has some pretty good models for how your brain works, how neural connections happen. And that's all at a cellular level. And those cellular connections, the cells themselves are made of molecules, and the molecules are made from atoms, and the atoms have subatomic particles and so on. But the scale is absurd. The idea that quantum action has an effect that you could engage with or consciously manipulate. I can't even control my reflexes. I mean, there's so much about my body that's completely random. My wife would say I can't even control my flatulence. My point is, there's a big gap, an exponentially large gap, a massive gap, a multiple orders of magnitude gap between those realms. Yeah. So
exactly. And go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to speak to the average person too and say, you guys are talking about this and dissecting it and trying to make sense of it. But the average person who buys into these theories and who practices the law of attraction day to day doesn't understand this, doesn't care to understand this. And you get Bob Proctor touching upon that and saying, oh, I don't understand how electricity works, but it works and it does exist. And that's all I need to know. And you get a lot of that kind of, oh, it's quantum, oh, it's this. You don't need to understand why, but this is what it is. And that legitimizes it. And then people practice it. They don't feel like they need to understand anything else.
You could substitute the word magic for quantum in any of these things. It would make the same amount of sense and actually be a little bit more believable.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is definitely
but pay
magic.
no attention to that man
magic
behind the curtain.
Yeah.
It's just all of it is, I don't know. There's nothing when they're, sort of invoking science, and yet they're not doing anything scientific. They're not, actually working. And now there are some physicists that actually try to experiment into this realm when it comes to this. You've got like Dean Radin. You've got I think his name is Timmons, who did win very early. I think it was a 1990s Pegasus Award. But you've got Fred Allen Wolf and a lot of these guys are respected physicists, and yet they do dabble in this area and have themselves that they've stepped away from all their education to be able to talk about these things. But it's worth a lot of money to them too. So I don't know.
It makes me think of people like Dr. Andrew Weil, and he was once friends with James Randi. And he's very well respected, very successful, and he has dabbled in a lot of these things too, and had great success with this. And I think, these are really the people, the charismatic types, the ones that we know about. They're really having more success, I think, dipping their toe into this than others are.
Yeah, maybe. We should probably talk a little. I know we just talked about it for our other episode, but people haven't seen that yet. So if they're only coming to this particular thing, we should mention that the idea here is so if you believe the theory is that, theory is really the wrong word, but this whole law of attraction thing, it does say, if you focus on the things you want, those things will come to you. And so what we're complaining about, I think, is if the inverse of that should also be true. If you have terrible things happening to you, the implication is that's because you're focusing on the bad things, and therefore it's your fault.
You're attracting those things.
I want to make sure Matt's focusing and not frozen. So
I want a banana.
Oh, okay.
yeah. So you wanted to go potty.
That's happening regardless.
So the secret, we don't need to know that much, but the secret talks about the 3 steps. And so those 3 steps are to ask, and then to believe, and then receive. So it's very simplistic, very reductionist. It's kind of based on quotes from the Bible that I don't have with me now, from the book of Matthew about believing and receiving.
Ask and it shall be given.
But it involves a lot
look for it shall be found.
involves a
And
lot of practices like visualization, meditation, guided meditation, positive affirmations, so writing down positive phrases, speaking them, thinking them, creating dream boards, intention boards, that kind of thing. Matt, you've done this kind of thing. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you got into this and how you practiced it?
yeah, I had the thing is, when you watch The Secret and you've dabbled in other things before, I mean, even Rich Dad Poor Dad, has elements of this in it. So you've got all of this kind of stuff that you've been reading before because you're searching for a way to make your way because you would rather work really hard at not having to work hard. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah,
Get rich
it's
quick
true.
schemes. A lot of us when we're young, we really want them to work. Um,
And
so
old.
when the Secret came out, it all sounded so familiar I wasn't thinking, hey, I've heard this before. I was thinking this sounds so familiar and it's ringing true. It must be
Yep.
true. It's always been told to me as the truth. So I'm
Well,
hearing it one more time in a more powerful, in a more focused market-like infomercial way that it's
hmm,
true. But it's
can
not
I?
an infomercial. It's not. I'm not watching Don Lapre on late night TV. This is
Poor Don.
actual.
Mhm. Well,
What's
I
that?
Said poor Don.
Pour Don, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I just want to add
And
before
all
you
his lawsuits.
continue the way that and we talk about this based on a true story as well. That the way they present The Secret is as though it's this knowledge that has been withheld from the average person, from lay people. It's something that only the upper echelons of society have had access to this knowledge, and yet now Rhonda Byrne, Tony Robbins, all of these other proponents, that they are giving us this information, they're sharing it so that everyone can have abundance, everyone can manifest abundance and have this kind of success. So please continue.
Well, I want to point out, because one of the things that's frustrating about this stuff is
One of the
some
things.
of it, some of it is kind of sensible. Like, if you want to achieve something, you need to focus on it. And having a vision board is okay. I mean, seeing where you want to get to,
Like
more
a to-do
important
list.
well, that's the thing. That's different from a planning board where you actually have a plan for how you're going to get to that destination. I reminded the South Park episode, step 1 is, collect socks. Step 3 is profit. So it's like, but
Yeah.
this stuff is making a plan, being inspired. Like, when you go to a motivational speaker, except for like having to lay out cash for it, you come out motivated. You want to go do something because you're inspired.
Oh, yeah.
It's really important to be believing that what you want to do is accomplishable if you really want to get somewhere. But then they go too far, as though wishing were all you need to do, as hoping is all you need to do, and that's just not the case. But this stuff shows up in not just religion, but we talked about this a little bit in that other video, but it also is very similar to chaos magic, where you get an idea, maybe you write down a word, like I want $1 million or whatever, and then you keep making it smaller and writing the letters over each other, and you form a sigil and you focus on the sigil, and there's different variations on it all, but it all still comes down to focus, focus, focus. And that's, again, if you want to do those steps, it makes perfect sense for getting you focused, but you still got to do the work. I could focus all day on getting my yard mowed, but if I don't get that mower cranked up, it ain't really going to get mowed. So
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, but
maybe I'm aiming low. Maybe.
But yeah, they certainly don't go into that. I mean, some people do. I want to get back to what Matt was talking about, but
Sure.
I think the Dalai Lama, I've got a quote here. He did an interview some time ago on peace and action, so it's a little long, but I'll try to read it quickly. He said, "I met someone who asked me, 'Please pray.' I said, 'I'm a Buddhist. I have a daily practice of prayer, but I do not believe prayer brings a peaceful world. We can keep praying for 1,000 years and nothing will happen. We should be realistic. If you have the opportunity to meet the Buddha or Jesus Christ, ask them to bring peace to this world, and they will certainly ask you, who creates violence? If God created violence, then yes, it's relevant to appeal to God. I'm certain that Buddha and Jesus Christ would tell us that you have created the problem, so it's your responsibility to solve it. Work for peace. The easy thing to do is to pray.'" And I think he said variants of that over the years too, talking about action and doing and performance is more important than prayer. And we don't hear that from other gurus, that's for sure. If we could call him a guru.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Matt, if you want to get back to what you were saying, we could keep going off in tangents.
So, now one of the things they talk about, they don't give you a really good structure in The Secret, but they make you feel like they did. They give you the 3 steps, and someone says, "Oh, and I made a vision board," and they're not giving you solid step-by-step instructions on how to do it. But one thing they say over and over is like, "Yeah, within 30 days, I blah blah blah." And so
1 month.
Yeah. I focused on what I wanted. I made lists. I had things stuck to the wall and on my mirror. I'd look at things every day. I would, driving in the car. I mean, some of you wonder why I'm a little crazy. This is why, because I would drive in the car and I'd have to talk to myself about all these things that I was achieving and blah, blah, blah. And this went on for months and nothing changed. Nothing got any better. So I thought, okay, there's a good chance here that this is all crap and it doesn't actually work. But I heard that James Arthur Ray was coming to town. I thought, okay, I'm going to go check this out. So, and I knew that this free seminar was going to be a sales pitch. That's
never free.
Yeah, that's obvious. That's what it was.
There's such things as free lunch.
He is an amazing pitcher. He is really, really good at it. He was getting everybody so frothed up and ready to go that he made it a competition for people to get to the back. The first, several people that made it to the back desk to sign up would, get this much of a discount, and people were racing back there. It was almost like trying to buy Elmo on, for Christmas.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was
Cabbage Patch
nuts.
Dolls.
Elmo, you got me. You got me.
So, I get the weekend. It's the Harmonic Wealth weekend. And I went to that, and of course I had to sign right in the beginning that I commit to trusting James Arthur Ray, and I think we all know where that goes. No sweat, huh? But
we'll get into that again too.
Yeah. So, but the thing is, this entire weekend was nothing but a sales pitch for his next thing that he was trying to sell, which was the science of success. And and Blake has noticed the high quality of these very expensive books that you can get, done at Kinko's. So this next thing that he sold was nothing but a sales pitch.
No Kinko shaming.
$1 million mindset. So the $1 million mindset was another one. And then if you wanted to do that, or you went to that one, it would be a sales pitch for his spirituality course. I mean, that's all these were just sales pitches to get to his next level.
Next one. Yeah.
So was there eventually an end boss in this video game? It feels like you're just like next level. So
yeah, really you get to beat the crap out of James Arthur Ray if you get through all of them. And
really
if you give him enough money, he would let you do it, I think.
It's a really kind of pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing. But I mean, we do talk about James Arthur Ray, and I do want you to talk about your personal encounter with him too. But we do talk about him in the episode of Based on a True Story. But I think we just should, to illustrate how dangerous this kind of thinking is, we should just touch upon the Sweat Lodge tragedy that occurred in 2009.
Which is why first, yeah, and this is 3 years after The Secret happened, the movie.
Yeah,
and so he'd already started becoming even substantially more successful because of that free I assume free marketing.
He was at the height of his career at that point. And he'd set up this Sweat Lodge ceremony, which was really an appropriation of Native American rituals.
That is the end game boss that you have to defeat, is the Sweat Lodge.
Wow. And they were certainly very upset about this whole event. But he had a number of people who attended this, and they paid $10,000 to attend. $10,000. They were basically given a sleeping bag and set out into the Arizona desert to sleep for 3 days. They fasted for 36 hours. But the problem here is they fasted. Lots of people do intermittent fasting, things like that. But you're supposed to drink water, right? Out in the desert, supposed to drink water. They weren't given water. And then they were put into this, I guess, like a sauna type situation, left to their own devices. He did, I believe he was offering certain things like a poncho if you were cold out in the desert for an extra $250, and all of these extras that you had to pay for. But yeah, there were about, I think, 18 people who were injured, suffering burns, breathing problems, kidney failure, and then 3 people who died. So a really sad story. And he just took off afterwards, after that happened. He didn't.
It's like a more lethal version of the Fire Festival, right? Just the worst. Like these people got out there and it was the worst.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can talk about other kinds of tests that other people like Tony Robbins do too. But I really think that this is the best case, worst case scenario for this kind of thing. And I mean, he went to jail for 2 years, and was convicted of negligent homicide.
People. 2 years for killing 3 people.
Yeah,
for killing, and he has come out and he's bounced back and rebranded himself and reinvented himself, and he's not really full of much remorse. I can't think of the name of his book, The Business of Redemption. And but
that's terrible. It's a book I'm selling. It's a business of redemption for me, the guy that killed some people.
Matt's come across some great terrible quotes of things that he's said after this. Matt, in essence, what is he saying?
Well, in essence, because I was unprepared.
Didn't have them handy.
I was trying to attract the quote and it didn't come. So, but yeah, basically he was saying it had to happen for me to get to my next level and learn, what I needed to learn from this. This tragedy had to happen, and I could either be angry about it, or I can, look inside and find the strength and blah blah blah. And so this whole thing of people dying and being injured was for me and my spiritual growth, because I'm that important. It's ridiculous.
It is, and it's, it's not just people who are, convicted criminals. There's a lot of people who just slip by with this stuff, and they're not breaking a law with their law of attraction. But they're ripping people off. And when people, if it worked, it'd be great, I guess. But the fact that, it should be bloody obvious that it doesn't work. I keep coming back to the whole thing about how many teenage boys do you know who think about having a girlfriend all the time, and then it never happens, and it's not because they're not thinking about it. It's not because they don't believe. It's because they're not leaving their basement, or they don't know how to talk to people, or whatever. There's lots of reasons why, but
acne.
Whatever. Yeah, it's like excessive body hair. Yeah, I'm just saying, whatever. It's like but it's just crazy. It's crazy. So
well, it also makes me think of Jay-Z Knight, one of her former husbands. He had HIV, and she claimed, or rather Ramtha claimed. So we know about Ramtha, Jay-Z Knight. So it's Judith Zebra Knight, but strange name.
It's a little suspicious because he comes from Atlantis, and that's not a real place.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Well, he's Lemurian, but he conquered.
Oh,
Atlantis.
He conquered Atlantis.
So
Sorry, my bad.
True?
My bad.
Dr. Atlantis, is that true? He's 35,000 years old.
Did he conquer you?
Yeah.
I find all that stuff hyper boring. Hey, Robert E. Howard joke. Okay. It's like.
But Ramtha was claiming that he could cure this her husband of HIV, and so this went on for about 5 years, I think, and they got divorced, and he took her to court because, as we're going to get into, a lot of misconduct with all of these gurus and these spiritual leaders. But he took her to court because he claimed that she'd wasted 5 years of his life in which he could have been seeking medical
Yeah.
support and medicine and treatment, and instead was listening to her and listening to Ramtha, and he died. So, there are just so many cases like this. I mean, what's the harm? There are lots and lots of cases of people being harmed by these kinds of people and this kind of thinking and these followers.
It can go beyond just finance. Exactly. It can go into your health. And even in The Secret, the movie we watched, there's a whole section in there where they lightly dance into the idea that maybe medicine works, but the rest of it's about having a positive attitude. And I mean, that whole idea of the power of positive thinking, that's been what Norman Vincent Peale, that's been around since the 50s. And it's a lot of the same stuff. And it's pervasive. Mind over matter. It's pervasive. It's like, it's an idea, and
you're making me think about the woman from The Secret, who was talking in that medical section, and she'd claimed that she'd had breast cancer, and that she applied the law of attraction and cured herself. And I mean, there's no information there. There was no. I mean, it was just really these statements that she was making. She didn't back it up with anything. And we hear of lots of cases of people going into remission. We hear of cases of people being misdiagnosed. It's just really dangerous to tell people, don't seek treatment, don't seek chemotherapy, don't see doctors, just practice the law of attraction. And it's kind of things just really annoys me.
One of the people in our chat room said Atlantis is a sunk coast fallacy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is very good.
So, but yeah, no, this stuff is not harmless, and it's everywhere, and the sort of like the engine of it runs on ideas we've all heard before. Like it's just, but they extend it further into the realm of exploitation. So, Again, I can't, I find it frustrating because I know how important a positive attitude and focus is for getting things done, but it's in no way enough. And you have to actually have a plan and execute on that plan. And if you are one of the lucky few who just has stuff handed to you, that's grand, but that's luck. That's just your good luck. Congratulations. You didn't do anything to deserve it or earn it or draw it to you. It's ta-da. If you buy a lottery ticket versus don't buy a lottery ticket, statistically, most people don't win the lottery. That's how they work. So you're not special. You're just a fluke of statistics. If you win, you didn't earn it. You just got it. Enjoy it. Great. Good. Have a good time. But don't believe that you magically wished it into being and you're somehow better at wishing than other people. We all wish for good things to happen.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely.
Man, you are bringing me down.
Yeah. It's like,
geez.
But I think that a lot of people who are in The Secret and who practice the law of attraction are really coming from a place of privilege too. And when we look at the real life cases of people who practice this kind of thing and don't have success, they're coming from low socioeconomic groups, and but these people who are like Bob Proctor and others, came from wealth.
Yeah, Bob passed in February, by the way. I think so. I think he's out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't actually know that, but he's
I believe he's left the building. I think. Yeah. let me double check on that.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about his book "You Were Born Rich," and I wasn't.
Nor was I. He died in February. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't even hear of that, but another interesting thing too. It's making me think that a lot of people like Deepak Chopra and others really took advantage of COVID, the pandemic, to push their theories and came out with movies and came out with products. And Deepak Chopra came out with these $250 meditation glasses that were supposed to help.
Are they like his big glasses?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe. But I think a lot of them really, because so many of them seem to be coming back and having renewed success. Like Tony Robbins, he brought out Life Force this year. Gosh, who else?
Which is probably not as good as the Awesome Space Vampire movie, I bet. So just guessing.
But Deepak Chopra brought out Abundance, the Inner Path to Wealth this year, but they're all just coming back. And I really do think it's COVID's kind of brought them out again. It's a time where you've got
nature is healing,
inflation,
the
you've got
grifters are
sickness.
returning to the marketplace. What's
Yeah, the ones with the answers. But I stepped over you earlier, Matt. You were going to talk about just having met James Arthur Ray. We talk about it in Based on a True Story, but I think it's
worth repeating. It's a good story. Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good story or not, but yeah, I'm at one of his Warrior Weekend things, and we're having to do all these different exercises in between the sales pitches, and I in between I came up and I was gonna talk to him for a minute about something. I can't remember what it was, but I asked him about something being available, and he was not there is the only way I can say it, because he looked at me and he just went.
Do you think he was nervous around you, or you think he was just kind of?
No, I mean, he had the high ground and everything else, being a few steps up on on the side of the stage. So I don't think he had any reason to be nervous. I don't know. It was just a very strange thing, but it put this kind of fear in me of him, that he was so incredibly self-absorbed that that was all he could muster in terms of interacting with another human being. It was terrifying, and I just thought this guy's dangerous.
So, yeah, he wasn't lowering himself to talk to you, or it just sounds like he was a robot too. It's strange.
He still wanted to sail, but yeah, I don't know. Very strange.
Yeah.
Oh, those are nice meditation glasses. Yeah.
And they're $350, not $250. Maybe the inflation.
Yeah. Well, they're digital. They're digital glasses. They're not just regular glasses. So obviously,
those are awesome.
Okay. I don't know.
I
mean,
Gizmodo
meditation
has them on their website. You can go look if you're interested. But
don't.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, apparently, people who use them get headaches and all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
So, but it makes me think of Tony Robbins too, and I don't think Tony Robbins really practiced the law of attraction as such. I know that he once practiced neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, he was big on NLP. Yeah.
He doesn't call it that, but the whole awaken the giant within and all that stuff. It's still the same thing.
Well, yeah, he's all about. He takes. He admits it. I mean, he takes from everybody and tries to, as he says, he's like distilling the wisdom of others down for you. And
which is what Rhonda Byrne says she's doing too.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, there are things in here that are real, and then there's a lot that's not. And so, there's nothing in there about having the discernment distinguishing between what's real and what's not real, which is, I think, skepticism will never win against nonsense, because nonsense has no barrier to entry. You can just make up whatever you want as long as you want. But learning the skills of having to, how to realize what's plausible, not plausible, what's testable, not testable, and use that as a guidance is really kind of the goal. And so, I mean, we can't eradicate nonsense. It's a limitless factor in the universe, but what we can do is use the skill set and tools of critical thinking and testing and scientific approaches, and sort of figure out what's plausible, what's not. This is not plausible. This is not plausible. It's not scientific. It's not reproducible. And also it's not falsifiable, which is really important. There's no way to say, if it doesn't work, all people have to say is, well, you didn't think hard enough. We have no way to meter our interior life. So yeah. Sorry, I went on a little rant there. Sorry.
It's all about victim blaming. Well, you made me think about another OnlyFans project called No Barrier to Entry, but
oh boy, but yeah, that is indeed something that a lot of these people promote. And I speak about this based on a true story. Lots of crossover here, but when I did an investigation into neuro-linguistic programming many years ago, I had come across a neuro-linguistic programmer who was charging a huge amount of money for a consultation. And I said, I don't have that money. And he said, well, if you really want to help yourself and you're really invested in getting support and help, and you really want this, then you will find that money. And so absolutely, a lot of victim blaming and a lot of just pushiness. I mean, it's just, they're really mean people.
Well,
heartless.
Let's look at another whole level of this victim blaming, though. And that is, when you're watching The Secret, they talk very much about, everything that goes bad in your life. You did. You brought it on yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. And, that gets disturbing when you talk about innocent children, or that come into this world and end up immediately with leukemia, or end up immediately with an active shooter, or whatever the heck it is. What's
Well, yeah,
the reason for that? Well, and you've got these people going, oh, it's their fault.
it
How can it be?
reminds me of the whole original sin idea.
Original sin thing, yeah. But I saw an interview that Oprah did with Abraham Hicks, and the interesting thing there. Now, I did want to say that after I was fed up with James Arthur Ray, Abraham Hicks looked really like a much better option, because it was a lot more gentle. It was a lot more forgiving. It was a lot more not everything is a sales pitch. You go to their one seminar, they're not trying to sell you another one. You're just there. They open up the room for questions, and that's it. And it's much more comfortable and pretty cool. But the bottom line is the same thing. So
Variation
Oprah,
on the theme.
yeah, Oprah asked Esther Hicks, what about children? I mean, you're saying that anything bad that happens is your fault. What about innocent children that goes on? And she said, well, when a child is still in the womb, it's picking up the vibrations from the mother. When the
Wow.
child is born, it's picking up the vibrations of the family, of the neighborhood. You know how you can drive into some neighborhoods and it just doesn't feel right. But you get back to your white neighborhood and suddenly things feel okay. And the vibration, she didn't say that, but that's what she said.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It was just wrong, and it was victim blaming.
Even if
But
it's not, even if it's not racist, it's classist. Yeah. It's like-
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, and that's
exactly.
reminding me of Jay-Z Knight too. There've been a lot of accusations of her and Ramtha being racist, and saying a lot of things about Catholics and Jews and Mexican
Yeah.
people. Yeah, I
Ramtha's a
mean,
bad man.
It's,
it's still Ramtha.
I,
Yep.
I don't trust any of those Lemurians. That's why we went to war with them. So,
Yeah, yeah,
35,000 years
absolutely.
ago.
so,
And he's being channeled by a rapper. So really,
But I just think it's interesting the scandals that a lot of these gurus get into, because they do come across as being, so self-righteous and so holier than thou, and yet it seems like they've all been caught up in various scandals over the years. So like James Arthur Ray, thinking about Tony Robbins too. I know that decades ago, my brother was a follower of his, and I can't remember if he saw him in the UK or Australia, but he went firewalking and paid thousands of dollars, I think, for the opportunity to firewalk.
to walk on
And
some coals. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, and of course,
Yeah.
we've talked about that a lot in skepticism, and how
Yeah.
that can be safely done, but then at other times it can be done dangerously too. And it was 2016 that he had an event. It was in Dallas, and 30 people had to be treated for burns during one of his firewalk sessions. And I thought he'd stopped doing this, but clearly he's still doing this kind of thing. And Matt, you said with James Arthur Ray, he had like kind of karate chop
oh yeah, it was break. I mean,
exercises.
they all use the same thing. And the thing is with the breaking the board, you have to write the big negative thing you feel about yourself on the board in a Sharpie, and then you break that board because you're breaking through your old shackles.
Yeah,
But that's done by so
magic
many of
again.
these gurus. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I have a little background information on that firewalk in question that
Okay.
Tony Robbins did. Now I've done firewalking myself, and the big thing is don't stop.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Don't hang out, just keep
Yeah.
moving. But another thing is what he tried to do in that, and the reason I know this is because one of the guys that I had to train with, he owned the hypnosis university that it's fine to call it a university, that I attended to get my hypnotherapy license or certification, and he was there at that particular thing, and
Okay.
he thought it was, you know, hilarious until the bad stuff happened. Because what Tony Robbins tries to do is make sure that the coals are at a very specific level where they start to get that white ash on top of the coals.
Yep.
Because once
Impressive
that
looking.
white, yeah, once that white ash is there, that's actually a barrier
It's a
to the
layer of
heat.
insulation. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you can walk across it.
It's
more
not
safely.
conductive. Right, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the problem is there was a big problem with that the coals were too hot, and he was panicking because people were lining up getting ready to walk, and there was, you know, no white on these ashes, and he just he was kind of forced to have, you know, this continue through. He couldn't go, stop, you can't do it, the coals are too hot, everything
Yes,
I've
he
been
could
telling
have.
you is crap.
And well, yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, you know,
I
yes,
mean, I
he
don't have
could
a
have.
lot of sympathy, but I kind of do. That's a sucky situation.
Yeah, he
But
can't.
yeah,
He
yeah,
can't
yeah,
suddenly
yeah.
go because so basically what he tried to do was get them to move quickly
Yeah, yeah,
across it.
yeah.
And some people were, you know, kind of doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
yeah.
Bye. And then in
And then
2019
like
we had all of
someone's like,
those.
"Well, is there a barbecue after this? I'm smelling
Uh,
something good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, no.
but yeah, he's faced more than that. In 2019, he had all of those allegations of sexual harassment against him too, and that's happened to a number of these other.
Victim blamed his ass off with those too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think that's all still ongoing, so we don't want to talk about it too much. But
I think the thing, you know, when you get a position of power, a lot of times they'll put you in positions of being tempted, and a lot of people do not have the character to resist the temptation. So,
oh,
and then when it's
Indeed.
harassment, there was no temptation. You're just an asshole. That's
yeah.
Yep.
so. Yeah.
But
How many people
even-
say I thought it was mutual? I thought what we were doing was mutual. Yeah. Okay. So,
Yeah. I mean, we could talk about that with
We
certainly
don't. Let's
other
don't.
other actors, other people. Yeah, but
I hate that.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
just astounding how many of these gurus have just been involved in, you know, financial misconduct, sexual misconduct, and yet they're putting themselves out as being enlightened and being you know, just spiritually advanced and no, they're just human, and they're
Yeah.
in positions of power, as Blake said, and you know, they abuse that power.
In our chat room, Nemo2342 says this was the first time Tony Robbins had faced defeat.
Well, they're all learning from you, Blake.
Yeah.
Like attracts like is all I hear.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all I hear. What the hell? It's like, all right, wake up, brain. Okay.
You know what? Getting back to the whole idea of the law of attraction is an interesting thing when you talk about this classism aspect of it as well. You know, if you are born into a good neighborhood with good vibrations, you're automatically going to be in a better place. But let's talk a little bit more about the astrophysics aspect of.
Oh wait, you're saying that
attraction.
the law has a class. Oh, never mind. Sorry, it fell apart.
I know where you were going, and it did. It
Yeah.
fell apart completely.
There's a class where the action of the law assumes them. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
That was nice. So basically, if we're talking astrophysics, and Blake, correct me if I'm wrong here, that two large bodies out in space will be attracted to each other, except if they're a certain distance away, then they actually repel.
I don't
And
think that's right. But
it's no, it actually is. They've just
I don't
discovered
know.
that.
It's like I knew that two large bodies can attract each other because I remember Roseanne used to be married to Tom Arnold.
Right. So yeah, case in point. And you know, they ended up getting too far away from each other because he tried to get into acting as well.
There you go.
And
So-
boom, they went away from each other.
Sorry,
But no,
I messed up your point. Continue. Sorry.
Well, it's kind of like how, you know, with us sitting here, things that are the furthest away from us in the universe are moving away from us the fastest. and it's there's this repulsion. So there's not only a law of attraction, there's a law of repulsion. And if you are born into terrible circumstances, you are farther away from your goal, and you might just get further. But if you are born right next to your goal because you got a silver spoon, maybe the law of attraction is not so hard.
No, it
And
would seem very easy. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it's a little frustrating when they're going, it's the same for everyone. No,
Oh,
it's not.
yeah,
It is not.
absolutely. Absolutely not. No, that's a really classist thing to say. But we're into the final minutes of the show, and I think we should talk about the other laws, because most people think the law of attraction is everything, but there are, what, 12 different laws? The
There's
law of
12 different
attraction is
laws.
just one of
Well,
them?
that's kind of the funny thing. And sometimes it is one of them, but it's like I was saying before, how you've got a lot of these gurus that don't even agree with each other. So there was a set of 12 universal laws that was kind of being pushed. I'm trying to remember where they started, but I'm just going to see if I can dig it up here real quick here. And, I'm so prepared.
Yeah.
See what this,
But yeah,
I'm
I think
reading
it's
from the
interesting
Science
that
of Success. So
I think it's interesting that most people think, oh, it's just the law of attraction, but that's just
yeah,
one
it's
of
like
these tenets.
the law of cause and effect is one. The law of gender is one. Which, if you're a man, you're going to be more successful and get paid more. So you've got the law of perpetual transmutation. Energy is in a constant state of transmission and transmutation. Energy is forever moving into form, through form, and back into form. Everything we see, hear, taste, touch, smell.
That doesn't have the same ring to it, though.
No, no. You got the law of vibration. Everything from thought to thing, from electron to cosmos, is in a constant state of vibration. Millions and millions of varying degrees of vibration. So, and that's all great as well. But yeah,
In Georgia, you can only use the law of vibration for entertainment purposes only. This device is not for use as a sexual stimulation. That's, I think that's what the sticker says. So yeah, it's like,
Yep.
Good memory.
Got the law of relativity, first articulated by Albert Einstein, because he was so into this. The
These
law
aren't
of
just these aren't as user friendly. I can see why they're
Right.
focused on the law of attraction.
Well, but we got one coming up in a minute that I think is pretty good. The law of polarity. Everything in existence has its opposite and cannot exist otherwise. Consequently, all opposites are different manifestations of the same thing. Now that gives all kind of outs for things. And, oh, you were doing the law of attraction? Well, you actually got the law of polarity going there, buddy.
Yeah.
You got the law
Well,
of rhythm, which is not a good method of birth control.
but it is a dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Chick-fil-A switched to a kale salad, but they used to have this law of attraction.
Oh,
Yeah. There we go.
terrible.
We've got the law of cause and effect, which I think is what the law of attraction should be. You work hard, you believe in something, and you put in the effort and the action, then the effect is going to
Yeah.
show.
Left
And I
that
think that's
part out.
Yeah, that's a much better one. The law of gender. Nothing is ever created or destroyed. All so-called new things are merely the results of changing something that already existed. So that's a lot like that first law that we read about. But in this law, this set of laws, there was no law of attraction from James Arthur Ray. Yet on The Secret, he pushes the law of attraction like crazy. So
Yeah. Well, I
whatever.
think after that movie came out, The Secret, there were lawsuits and there was lots of problems within the group and people pulling out and different versions of the movie that were made. And certainly there's a lot of bickering within that group of people for a group that on the surface, they seem to be all peace and love and mung beans and that kind of thing. There's a lot of, fighting and in-group factions and things like that within.
Well, that's what people
this
do. That's what
group.
we get together and then we break into groups.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we hate each other. That's what we do. So it's so hard. I mean, if people are led by people who are narcissistic, selfish, and exploitative, they're not likely to build coalitions. That's how life works. Unfortunately, that's the law of don't be an asshole.
Let's follow that one instead.
Yep.
That sounds good to me.
But yeah, I mean, there's so much more that we could discuss here. But yeah, our episode of Based on a True Story is going to come out soon, so please do go and watch that. And do like this episode and go back and watch our other live episodes if you haven't already, and other Based on a True Story shows.
And we're taking a break for July, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. We'll have a summer holiday and
Yeah.
then resume in August, and we'll have to have a think about what we want to treat then. But we'll.
So
we weren't going to say
lots of
anything
ideas.
just to see if anybody noticed.
Oh well, I would notice. He's like, hello.
Oh yeah, we weren't going to tell you, Blake. Yeah. But we'll be back.
We will be back. Stay cool unless you're in Australia, and stay warm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
You have no choice.
Yeah. But thanks for joining us, and yeah, reach out to us too if you've got any ideas for future shows.
Yeah, and you can always leave us a message at patreon.com/muster talk. So
Smooth. That was
yeah, you know what a great form of communication is a $2 a month contribution.
If you want to
Greatly
achieve
appreciate it.
success, that's
I'm
how
not
you do it.
saying that people
You get it back
will
tenfold.
get success. I'm not saying that, but I've heard stuff like that before.
Yeah. They say it.
I will benefit tenfold. So
Twofold.
This feels like it's not going in the right direction.
well, all right. Well, anyway, have a good evening or day or whatever. We wish you well. We wish you well. But if you really want to do well, you'll probably need to do a little work yourself. So
Yes.
That's right.
Well said.
The takeaway message. Thanks for joining us.